You're listening to DraftKings Network.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
You may have noticed that suspiciously, after Notre Dame lost in a fashion that was embarrassing and dramatic, and Ryan Day at the end of it decided to go after an 86-year-old man for possibly not questioning or sort of questioning, maybe not actually questioning the grit of Ohio State. And you cannot question a football team's grit without offending the leader of Triumph, Ryan Day, and he got very emotional afterward. But the game was embarrassing because of how it ended for Mike Ryan, who enjoyed the echoes of seeing Al Golden without a tie being the defensive coordinator, and a couple of times sending out 10 men on the field when they could have used about 10 more than that in the situation. After timeouts, the incompetence. Look at the smile on Mike's face now.
They would have gotten a penalty for that.
28.
Yeah, like 3 inches. That was the weirdest part about all of that is Marcus, like Notre Dame had been good all game in short yardage situations, stuffing them. And Marcus Freeman recognized, hey, we have one fewer guy on the line, but we don't want to surrender a half yard to them. So we're going to have them just have an easy path to the end zone. It was a weird miscalculation. If he could do it over again, I guarantee he'd just rush somebody out there.
Yep. I mean, I don't really think there's a good excuse for it. I think he tried to explain his thought process after the game, but I think he knows what a horrendous mistake that was. That, I mean, him as the head coach, whoever is in charge of putting personnel on the field after the timeout, I mean, he absolutely is not off the hook for that. Everyone gets blame on that coaching staff because that you can't do that at the end of a game.
Can we blame Golden most, though?
You can blame Al Golden. Cool. I thought actually, like, most of the game, Notre Dame's defense played really well. They gave up one big chunk play, that run. Ohio State's running back, so good.
That's about as well as you could
really
play Harrison
to defend.
Jr.
Harrison Jr. was barely a factor in the game. I mean, Benjamin Morrison.
He's hurt, right?
He got hurt in that game, and
but he got hurt. He got hurt and he came back. But before he got hurt,
he was shut down.
He was completely shut down.
I'm
by
saying
Notre Dame's
he doesn't
who
look.
Will be a first-round pick.
He doesn't look the same as he looked last year when he was faster than everybody he was playing against.
Well, I think the difference is that C.J. Stroud isn't his quarterback right now, and Kyle McCord coming to the game for Ohio State, like they had a tough time in their first 2 games getting the offense going. So this was their biggest test: was are they going to be able to score points against Notre Dame's defense? And they really weren't for most of the game, and I think that's where Notre Dame's offensive game plan, which felt very conservative to me, kind of backfired, because I think if you call a conservative game plan and you keep it close, you risk losing it close.
Why did they have that game plan, Jess? Because they got Sam Hartman, which is a gem of a transfer portal landing, and he came in, highly touted. He's won games with his arms and not playing conservative offenses, and they decided to make him a game manager there. He's been very good for them all season long. It was just bizarre.
I thought that it was definitely my biggest takeaway from the game, and it came down to the last play, and I think the last play gets all of the criticism because of how they mismanaged personnel.
But the last drive,
but I think the first
half
of the game, when Notre Dame was not able to score after having 2 drives that ended up in Ohio State territory. The first one, they went for it on 4th down. They called it a first down, and then they reviewed it and overturned it. Fine. Okay, that happens. The second one, they miss a long field goal. You can't leave points on the board when you're playing against Ohio State. Like, you have to score. It could have been 10-3 going into half. Instead, it was 0-3. And I thought that was really disappointing. Like, they had all the opportunities, and I think the post-game win expectancy was like 60-something% in favor of Notre Dame. They were the better passing team. They were the better running team. They were the more efficient team. But they played it close, and they lost close. They weren't able to contain on the Ohio State's final drive. They weren't able to get a first down when they had the ball with 4.5 minutes to go, and they just needed to chew clock and get another first down and put the game on ice. And the last 2 drives, both Notre Dame's drive and Ohio State's drive, were everything went wrong if you're a Notre Dame fan, but everything went right if you're an Ohio State fan. Ohio State put tons of pressure on Notre Dame's offense. They were able to get the ball back. And then Kyle McCord, a quarterback who's never played in a game like this before, was able to effectively manage a comeback drive, and I think that he should get tons of credit for that. But Notre Dame also, like, they blew it, and I think they are feeling that. I saw players, coaches, all completely devastated by this because this was their game.
They have
to
two
win,
guys. Jess, look at this image.
It.
They have two guys on. They have two guys on one side. They have 10 guys, and they decided to do what Golden did against Georgia Tech in the triple option goal line, where they're behind the goal line. They're just conceding this touchdown. What is this?
They blew it. I am telling you right now.
There's
indefensible play calling. I think the 3rd and 19. I mean, that was the game.
I'm happy that we're getting to like a meat and potatoes college football segment on Thursday to recap in the previous one, because there's a lot of stuff that made me laugh over the college football weekend that we haven't been able to do. Promos during the NFL games that still refer to USC Colorado as the biggest game of the year after Colorado lost by 35 plus points. That was funny. Lane Kiffin calling out Alabama saying, oh, no, their defensive coordinator, they've replaced him. It's a different guy calling plays. And then laying an absolute egg on the road, once again losing to Nick Saban. Another observation that I have for the college football weekend was, do you think Mario Cristobal knew it was his birthday?
He's a crazy person.
There's no way he knew.
He doesn't have time for joy and candles and anything non-football related joy of any kind.
I know how he spent his birthday. He hopped on a bird and
At
recruited.
Temple?
he recruited cross country. The guy's a maniac about this.
It all comes back to Cristobal with Mike. The thing that I wanted to examine with the group as it relates to college football and just the pain and misery that others get to enjoy when your team loses and there's a suffering. Earlier in the show, we were talking about how many people have gathered here the last couple of days because they're enjoying our show being loud, wrong, and being able to laugh at our show. The question I wanted to ask you, because Mike went to sleep on Saturday, true hater, hugely happy because Deion Sanders lost, but also because all of the teams in the shipping container lost. UCF, Iowa, Lucy was sad.
UCF's first conference game, too, in the Big 12. Oof.
I mean,
Can we talk about that?
Way more embarrassing than what I did.
So embarrassing.
I enjoy how funny Iowa is. I enjoy, I root for Iowa to do what they just did. And I'm sorry that also equals your suffering, but come on.
I don't think you're sorry.
He scored 0 points.
My point
crawling right back into his ass.
I'm wondering when Jessica loses like that, because losing a close game is one thing. And if you're going to be the person who enjoys the suffering of one of your friends because we get to laugh at our friends being in pain, because we all know it's sports and it hurts and we laugh, what's the worst of those pains? Is it not just losing a close game, but losing a close game when people can just point out, what are you doing? There are only 10 guys on the field after a timeout. How do you lose that way? Which is the best of those feelings, enjoying your friend's misery?
When we were driving back from Penn State, which we left early because it was so bad, we watched the Notre Dame game on my phone, and my dad looks at me and goes, at least you're not just right now. At least you're not just.
Because Iowa hasn't played in a big game in
That is so fair.
That shot was for your dad, Lucy, not for you. I respect you.
I would rather lose by 31. That's where we belong. I understand where we are. It's let Penn State have 97 plays to our 33.
I was rooting hard for Iowa over the weekend because if I had Al Golden and Manny Diaz fail in the same weekend, it would have been the only way it could have gotten better.
Which is the worst pain, though? If I gave you your optimal thing, Mike, because you went to sleep happy because the reason you were happy is because Deion lost. I
guarantee you the thing that made me happiest was Al Golden messing up. And it could
former coach failing.
It could have been Al Golden messing up for the Cincinnati Bengals. The fact that it was Notre Dame, there's an added bonus there because I don't like Notre Dame as a Miami Hurricanes fan. But it's really just I loathe Al Golden because I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan, and to have him suffer that indignity was great.
That's fine. You laugh at me, I laugh at you. We're all equal here, laughing at one another in our sports pain. That's fine with me.
Last year was very hard for me.
My point is, though,
I know. It was great for me.
Are we
lost
all
to Marshall, and I was still laughing at you.
Middle Tennessee State as well?
We lost to Stanford at home. Stanford. And it was still funny to laugh at you. Are we what?
Because it's Middle Tennessee State. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Are we?
You know what it feels like.
Are we equal when it
to the
comes
mall later
to sports pains? Because I don't think all the sports pains are equal. I do believe that the joy that people are getting laughing at Heat fans today is a greater joy than laughing at Lucy because she got shut out and Iowa was maximum Iowa. I don't know if it's a greater joy than looking at a team that you don't like, if it's Notre Dame, lose incompetently or lose with something that everyone can point to and be like.
I would say embarrassingly. Like, it's always a little embarrassing to be a Notre Dame fan. Like, we all wear a little bit of shame on our shoulders. And this is just like giving people another reason just to laugh.
Well, this is the one thing that I want to chew on, because when it comes to being a hater, logic seemingly goes out the window. You laugh, like the Miami Heat miss out on Damian Lillard. Huge victory for Boston Celtics fans. The logic that the Miami Heat eliminated the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals at that point goes away, and you get to revel in the most recent victory, i.e. Lillard not going to the Heat. Well, yesterday was a great day to be a Celtic fan, and no one applies the logic like, well, they beat us, like who are we to laugh? Doesn't matter. That's the great thing about being a hater, is you can laugh at a team losing in the national championship game while you have a 5-win season and don't have to be called out for being a hypocrite.
Well, you get called out and then you say, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm still a hater. I still wake up every day, I drink my glass of Haterade, and I go to work and I laugh at everyone else. And nothing that they say can get under my skin because I am driven by my hate. There's always someone else I can laugh at, even while they laugh at me.
I get the best
Suck
of
it,
both
Heat fans.
worlds because I hate my own team very much.
It doesn't.
Welcome to hell.
It really doesn't sound like Iowa Hawkeyes offense is the best of any worlds. It doesn't feel like it. The people who care about Iowa football only care to laugh at your lack of offense. That seems a specific kind of misery.
There are plenty of athletes that need to stay hydrated to produce optimum performance. But it's not just athletes that need to stay hydrated. People who sit down all day doing podcasts need to stay hydrated too. Proper functional hydration is essential, and Liquid IV is the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Their hydration multiplier is one product you're missing in your daily routine. Use it first thing in the morning, before a workout, when you feel run down in the afternoon, after a night out with friends, or on long flights. Liquid IV comes in 12 delicious, refreshing flavors to keep your hydration routine exciting. My favorite flavor is tangerine. In fact, it's the best flavor they have. That's right, I said it, tangerine. And it's easy to mix, even in a little water bottle. Just take a pouch, pour it in there and shake. Or stir if you use a cup. Plus, you can carry that convenient pouch anywhere. Real people, real flavor, real hydrating. Grab your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco. Or you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code DAN at checkout. That's 20% off anything when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code DAN at liquidiv.com.
Dan Le Batard.
At the end of our conversation with Alex Smith, and we talked for about 30 minutes, but I feel like nobody is going to remember anything about that conversation other than how you fell flat at the end with your very last word. Listen to how Stugotz here at the end of this interview says goodbye, just exhausted, to Alex Smith.
Thanks, Alex.
Stugotz.
What happened, Alish?
I'm Dan. I'm exhausted. I haven't stopped talking in a month. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
I feel like I'm all over the place today with all my Heat takes, and I'm also all over the place with, I don't know how to feel about this Toy Story game we got coming up this weekend. It's going to be fully animated. I'm intrigued. I want to love this, but it's got to be glitchy, right? Is there live? Is there a delay? I'm confused.
They're making it seem fully animated, like you said, and it's just going to be the production that is Toy Story. They have player tracking data. They're going to animate these players, and you'll get to watch the football game that's happening in London, but in Andy's bedroom with these toy figures actually being the ones that are replacing the Jags and Falcons. I have a feeling it's going to feel a little bit like MLB Game Center did back in the day, where you see just a crude animation swinging a bat.
So I have a question. Who's going to be what? Right? Like, is the offensive line going to be all the little aliens? Is it going to be the toy soldiers?
No, they're actually
Are they all going to be like Woody?
They've
Are they
animated
all gonna be Buzz Lightyear.
No, they've animated the Jags and Falcons.
They're all football players.
Yeah, they're all. Trevor Lawrence has long hair, and he's wearing a helmet.
What if there's a horrific injury?
I hadn't considered that.
Okay.
I had not considered a toy cart coming out.
Yes, you have to. A prayer circle, an ambulance, yes.
And Potato Head has to somberly throw to break.
It's an excellent way to teach kids about football. Here are the horrors. The commentators are talking about, should we show the audience this injury?
You are a genius, because I guarantee you, when someone in the pitch meeting at Disney decided, let's have some corporate synergy between ESPN, Disney, and the NFL. This is going to
be the Nickelodeon one's really fun. Let's try to recreate that.
No one has said. Someone should have absolutely stood up at the meeting and just did what Chris Cody did. What if someone dies?
They're gonna cut to just B-roll of pregame. I don't know.
Sid comes out and cuts their leg off.
I see on my television here that Mark Cuban is on First Take, and I do a sort of word association when I see him on. He said very loudly during a time that Brock Osweiler and Limited Offense were running the NFL that the NFL would stop at some point growing and being America's most popular game, and that the other sports would get to catch up because you don't get to be on top forever. And when you talk about some of these innovations to get new fans, whether it's Taylor Swift or Toy Story, I do wonder to myself, how much larger can that sport possibly get than it already is? It's the top in the top 100 most viewed things on television every year. They take 94 of the spots, and then a couple go to the Olympics. You've got the streaming services all fighting for the rights to, how can we merely share your product? We don't need any exclusivity. You're running television with your ability, even in a day when the numbers go down everywhere because everywhere is split. Football's numbers don't go down, and here's Taylor Swift, and that's the most watched game of the day. It doesn't even matter if the football's any good. I'm asking you guys seriously, when does the growth on this stop? When does it even slow? What does the future look like when Damar Hamlin is almost literally a speed bump to get to the next game where the numbers are, and the horrific injury that no one's considering in this Toy Story game is about to appall children globally? Globally, because no one's considered
this backfired.
The terrible.
Back to you, Bo Peep.
The terrible consequences of their. Are you now rooting for some sort of unseen? You can do this if you're not taking anyone out by name in particular. Are you rooting for some sort of unpredictable, unforeseen calamity to have to be recreated in the Toy Story game? You have to now root for that.
Slinky Dog has to fill.
The army guys come out let's go.
How about a high ankle sprain? Let's get a high ankle sprain and see how they handle it.
It'll be all the little army guys carrying the person that got hurt off the field.
It's such a bummer Urban Meyer's not still the Jaguars head coach. I would have loved to see Toy Story Urban Meyer.
There has been no harm to the general career of Urban Meyer, correct? He gets to be on television, and I'm not going
to make this face every time I see him, though.
Yeah, he's he went back to Big Noon, but it's really weird, really weird seeing him out there. And I don't know if he's ever going to be the commodity in the open market. I imagine he still wants a coach, but it almost feels like those days are over. You think he will, Lucy?
Yeah, I absolutely think he will. Someone will get desperate, and Texas will be like, we don't want Sark anymore. Bring us Urban. Like, that's just how it's going to happen.
That good of a job? I would think he'd have to start a little crappier than that.
What fan base recently was Michigan State?
Michigan State wants Urban. Yeah, I think
that makes more sense.
That
makes a ton of sense to go from Mel Tucker to Urban Meyer. Well, to Mark D'Antonio and then to Urban Meyer.
There will always be the market for him. Like, I really don't
But do
think
you think
it's
he'll
gonna go
actually
away.
get hired? Like, an athletic department will be like, this is a good idea.
Well, Nebraska, remember how passionately Nebraska fans were campaigning for him, and it didn't end up happening. But now, and that was right after all that stuff happened. So, yeah, I think you're right, Dan. I don't think any of this stuff sticks to him.
I shouldn't have said, though,
shorts.
I think the part that's not right is I shouldn't have said he has done no harm, because he was the most coveted free agent in coaching and had his choice. You remember having this conversation with Jimmy Johnson, because he told us he counseled Urban Meyer about this. Had his choice between, should I take at $100 million the Texas job, or should I take the Jacksonville job? And I've been arguing for a while that I think some of these college jobs are better. Jimmy Johnson says ego is the reason he had to do it professionally. He wanted to prove to himself that he could do it professionally. But what Urban Meyer proved to himself is that he couldn't do it professionally, made the choice anyway because of ego. But isn't, and I say this, I ask this question to the audience in general, wouldn't you rather have the Texas job than the Jacksonville job?
If you're Urban Meyer?
No, just anybody.
No,
I'm talking.
No, because they're paying NFL coaches less. It is, and Mike Norvell, when you had him on earlier this week, referenced this, and I talked about it during the job searches as people are trying to. There's a reason why Miami's former defensive coordinator was hired by Alabama. Alabama doesn't get the big recruits over this last year. They were in the market. People are avoiding college football because of how recruiting, NIL, the COVID year screwing everything up. You have to really sweeten the pot to get these guys over from the NFL. They don't look at it as a good life.
Texas specifically, excuse me, sorry.
$5.
I owe
dabbed
that,
there.
Lucy. Yeah.
You did dab.
Texas specifically.
Gen Z, man. There we go, you guys.
You wanted us younger and smarter, Dan. You're welcome. Texas specifically is really tough because they have very insane boosters, more than most schools. That's a job where expectations are a lot higher, criticism's a lot more. You're having to deal a lot more like bureaucracy. I get choosing Jacksonville over Texas specifically.
The reason that I still would look at it, despite what you're saying, and say, the Texas job, if I think I'm great at leadership coaching, the Texas job gives me advantages I would not have in a salary cap sport where I can't just bring a bus filled with my own players that I want and I get with a booster base that is as strong as any in the country, right? So you're telling me that the college football job in general has too much mess for people who are controlaholics, which I certainly understand. But among the best of them remains Texas, correct? Texas, if I said to anybody out there, how are you going to be competitive consistently? They would say, just have Texas is everything.
Because it's got it's this legacy program. It's got the college atmosphere, but also it's in an awesome city. So it combines the prestige of the South and the tradition of college football in the South with, this is actually a place that I can grow my brand, and I have it's in a metropolis. Like, they're so well positioned to dominate the college football landscape.
Let me ask it a different way then to you guys. Lincoln Riley, when he was available, which job is more attractive to him, USC or Jacksonville?
USC. College coaches are control freaks. That's why college works, because you can get away with being a control freak like that. You know, you're dealing with young kids. You're not dealing with grown adults. USC is a better job for a college coach.
Well, this is why Urban Meyer in Jacksonville did not work out, because the way he treated these players who are adults working under contract was not okay with them. And when all this stuff came out midway through the season about him kicking a player. You should not be able to do that in college football, but college football players are not unionized and they have very little recourse against their coaches. But you definitely can't do that stuff in the NFL, and it did not work out for him.
Even in the college ranks, Lincoln Riley had an adjustment period to just move into a major media market because he just found out this is not Norman Jack. Like, he tried to do that stuff with an LA beat writer, and it had to be undone after a lengthy conversation where they kind of made the beat writer fess up to something in order to get clearance again. But in that market, something that would have stood probably in Oklahoma didn't stand.
You guys are talking, though, about two different kinds of absence of control. You're talking about being a head coach that gets to the NFL and grown men who make a lot of money don't want to listen to you because they're grown men and they don't want to be kicked or shouted at or disrespected. But you go to college, and now with all of the transfers and the chaos and the rule changes, you also lose control there, but you have more control over the winning you can do in the margins. I can beat school X by raising more money. I can beat school X by taking 50 of my own transfers that I can't do in the professional sports to build my own team because I'm competing against other teams that have just as much money as I do.
You can, but it consumes you. Balance is not a thing. Minimal integration is the thing.
But there is no balance to any of these coaches. They're all totally lopsided. They're incapable of balance.
Dan, you cannot take a moment off now. It is way crazier than it's ever been, and it's always been plenty crazy. The market's speaking for itself. No one wants these coordinator jobs.
I think they're all 20-hour-a-day jobs that are obsessive-compulsive and insane. You can't be balanced as a professional or a college coach.
Just like podcasting.
There is no life balance here. None.
Every day I'm coming up with takes.
Like, imagine having to game plan for the Baltimore Ravens and then also talk to Gardner Minshew's mom for 2 hours. It's different.
Thursday Night Football is on, and it's only on Prime. All of your favorite teams, all of your favorite players, and an iconic broadcast team featuring Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. Be sure to check out the incredible matchups all season long. Thursday Night Football, it's on Prime. Pre-game coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with TNF Tonight, presented by Verizon. Not a Prime member? Not a problem. Simply sign up for a 30-day free trial, and you can cancel at any time. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Don Le Batard.
Were you guys building out the A-Rod bathroom of your imaginations? Is that what I heard you discussing during the break?
Towels with an A on them.
You know the thing you slide the toilet paper on? That's a baseball bat.
Hey, like that.
Stugotz.
You think he actually calls it the throne? Probably does.
It's an actual throne.
Yeah. An actual throne.
There's got to be a full-length mirror in there somewhere.
I imagine somewhere in his house he has a replica of David, but with his head on it.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
I think Tyler Herro's funny, which is a revelation to me because he's been really funny on social media. I think he was pretty self-aware when he reposted with comment on Jimmy Butler accusing that the league should look into the Damian Lillard trade because the Bucks tampered. This is according to Jimmy Butler, and he co-signed what he said, which is really funny for a dude that was at the center of all the rumors. But he is continuing his commenting on social media. Keep in mind, Tyler Herro has been quiet throughout the last few months as his name's been circulating in rumors. Turns out Miami Heat weren't actually talking to Portland during the time that this was happening. But he posted an NBA aggregate Twitter account with a comment, "Until next summer." And the meat of the message is Tyler Herro survives yet another offseason. Until next summer, because this is a common theme. There's a funny meme out there of Tyler Herro dressed as a Grim Reaper going through all the doors, and there's Russell Westbrook and James Harden and Donovan Mitchell and Kevin Durant twice. He survives all of this, so they very clearly rate him, or no one else does. And then the most recent tweet is actually really funny. In all seriousness, as a kid from Milwaukee, I'm grabbing me a Dame jersey.
He seems to be taking from the Jimmy Butler book of let me on social media find humor in this. Like this thing that everyone's taking super serious. I know that if I tweet about this, everyone's going to run with it. So he's just that's out of Jimmy's playbook right there.
I wanted to ask you guys something that's adjacent to this, because I don't feel like I asked the question well before when I was talking about Belichick and Riley, because a lot of this is happening right now, understandably. This is from Evan Sidery. He's an NBA Substacker, and he writes, in consecutive off seasons, 4 superstars had the Heat on their short list of preferred destinations: Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Damian Lillard. For Miami to somehow not land any of them is a failure of epic proportions. It is time to rightly criticize Pat Riley and company. And someone writes in right afterward, they were in the finals last year, as rebuttal. And I simply want to ask the question, not can we or should we criticize? There's no one in sports or no one anywhere in fame that gets to be above criticism. But I do want to ask, if there is such a thing from anyone listening to this who cares about sports, where you're just like, you know what? I really trust what my people that run my team do, and I trust that they are competent enough to regularly be smarter than the other people, even if my team loses or even if I don't get the results that I want. Is there such a thing?
Yes. It's with the Miami Heat. When they let Max Strus walk and when they let Gabe Vincent walk, I trust them to develop another one of those. But it's a different conversation when you're targeting superstars. That's how you win in the league. That's been the shortcoming. They've run into superstars that are better in the NBA Finals. That's been the undoing. And while it's a great rebuttal, they made the NBA Finals, it's also an indictment because they failed to improve on the roster. A roster that has come short pretty decisively. You can say injuries maybe in the bubble got them, but they were very clearly second best by a wide margin to Denver. But that's enough of the offseason in one sport, because there's an actual postseason going on.
Finally, we talking about Tyler Hero gonna go this place where we got the real WNBA playoffs going on right now, and they are heating up, big dog. We got the MVP has been passed out already. Salute to Stu York, you feel me? Brianna Stewart, we salute you, my sister, for a great performance this season. MVP, we love you. We got the Depoy, Asia Wilson, another one. She should have got the MVP. Her and Alicia Thomas.
She got a lot of votes.
You feel me?
Didn't get enough votes.
Snubbed, if you ask me. Salute to Stu York.
Ooh, a snub.
Yeah, you dig ski. But salute to them as well. 6th Woman of the Year, 6th Person of the Year, Alicia Clark. Salute to you, ma'am. Vegas Aces, Sydney Colson. I'm running out of breath.
No, you're excited.
Well, hang on, Juju, because I have a question for you. Because before the playoffs started, I asked you off air, do you have the Liberty or the Aces? Because the whole storyline this entire WNBA season has been, we have super teams now in the WNBA, and it's going to come down to the Liberty and the Aces in the final. And right now, the Liberty, throughout this season, I think, the season started, the Aces looked like they were the better of the two teams. And then I think towards the end of the season, it became apparent the Liberty were actually clicking really well, and the Aces were not looking as good. And now, in the playoffs, the Aces have been fire.
Sounds like a 2-team race.
The Liberty have had a little bit of struggles.
No, it's actually not. Because
that was my question. So I asked Juju, do you have the Liberty or the Aces? And you said you don't think the final is going to be Liberty Aces. You think it is going to be a rematch of last year's Sun Aces?
You feel me? Look, Tiffany Hayes had that look in her eyes the other day. She scored 23 points. You feel me? She never acts like that. She's in her 12th season in the WNBA. Might even be 14th. Don't fact check me. But she looked amazing the other day. So if she's going to provide that type of effort, along with AT, Alyssa Thomas, the Depoy, rebound leader of the year, if she provides that and go along with DeWanna Bronner as well, congratulations to them getting married. So love is in the air, ladies and gentlemen, as well as championships. Because if Tiffany Hayes, Beck Allen, if they can get it together and help those sisters out, I can see them beating the Liberty and going to the WNBA Finals for the 2nd straight year in a row.
Hasn't the consensus been, though, that the Liberty and the Aces are clearly more loaded than everyone else, and it's two teams? I thought that was from before the season what was supposed to happen.
Well, yeah, because Brianna Stewart signed with the Liberty, and she's the MVP of the season, but she's not been shooting super well the last few games. They had a tough series, their first series against the Mystics. It's best 2 out of 3. So they won in 2 games, but the second game went to overtime. It was so close, like incredibly close. I could have seen either team winning that series just based off that game, but she's not been shooting great in this series against Connecticut, but she's been like rebounding, assisting, like doing basically everything else. So if it comes down to her, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. Now, if she starts playing like even a little bit better, I do think they have more talent than the Sun and should win. I mean, they are the super team in New York right now.
Are you with Juju, though? Can you see the exact same when we fact-check Juju on other things? Look in the eye that Juju cited as his analysis on what it is that he's seeing? A look in the eye that is different than other looks in the eyes. I believe that is not something. We've never done that test. We've talked about doing that test of showing people different eyes and just their eyes and then asking the audience, do you see a look in the eye here? It's very easy when LeBron is scoring 48 to see a look in his eye against Boston because he scored the 48.
Yeah, because on top of that, Alyssa Thomas got snubbed from the MVP. She almost averaged a triple-double this season. That's unheard of in the men's league or the women's league. Well, salute to Russell Wilson and salute to Big O, you feel me? But that's insane.
Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook. You don't fact check me. Fact check me later.
Okay.
But yeah, she's been doing a phenomenal job. So I feel like that's the extra motivation the Connecticut Sun can use to get past this test because they won game 1 without this motivation. The Liberty was lucky to get game 2. You feel me? And I will be in attendance to game 3 tomorrow night in Connecticut. You feel me? Look for me. We're going to be out there representing because Tiffany Hayes, if she keep that look in her eyes, Connecticut, baby.
Juju, would you say Natasha Cloud had that look in her eyes when they played against Liberty?
Absolutely. She got
I know
snubbed.
exactly what Juju's talking about.
They left Natasha Cloud off the all-defensive first team and the second team. She is miles ahead of, oh my goodness. Look, WNBA, get it together on y'all voting. Get it together also. You shouldn't start the WNBA playoffs at 1 o'clock on Sunday when the NFL is playing. We trying to get viewers. Come on, y'all. Do yourselves a favor and do yourselves a favor.
I do think that didn't the finals game last year it went head to head with the NFL and I think it outrated the season before, but I don't remember exactly the ratings.
Right, they deserve more respect than they get.
But they are playing both games are Friday night, right?
Yeah,
late Friday.
You feel me?
Watch that instead of Louisville NC State.
You cannot counter program against the NFL. One of my favorite things to do, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed to admit this in front of people. I will tune away from NFL network television just to see what the paid-for infomercial crap is that other networks are putting on when they know no one is watching because everybody is watching the NFL. You get psychics, you get people selling you vacuum cleaner materials. Like, it is a graveyard of sad television personalities doing very poor television with the knowledge on their face, and I can see the look in their eye. I've done the incorrect things with my life that make me be counter-programming to NFL football. I have no answers for Romo and Nance. Look what I'm showing people, that I could take this off the carpet with my magical machine that they could get without watching this infomercial just by checking out Amazon. You can't go against the NFL. Everybody knows not to program. And here's the thing. There is very clearly the enthusiasm that you hear in Juju's voice. He's feeling the energy and the electricity of these crowds from great seats because there is in these crowds an electricity of stakes that matter that show you that they have become a sport that has value in the television streaming ages when everyone wants sports. You can make an argument that this is all new audience because they've been following, so many of these people have been, they've watched this sport grow from nothing into something that when you're watching it now, Juju, when you're in Atlanta with Renee, the energy of the crowds around those games is crazy.
Yes, sir. And especially in New York right now, the Liberty had a better crowd than the Nets in that gym. The Aces have better crowds than the Suns in their playoff arenas.
And the Raiders.
It's phenomenal. And these little girls growing up, they would love it. It would be amazing for them to have examples of them, of great superstar women. You see women like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, they're choosing to stay in college because they're going to make more money there than ever considering coming out with a WNBA, because in the WNBA, you see, Brittany Griner got to go overseas to get her money. All these players got to work all year just to make ends meet almost. So salute to the WNBA. We love y'all, but let's get it together.
I have a couple of eyes that you can judge whether or not they were successful in sports. Let's see if they had their look in the eye. First, Riche Caldwell, please.
He did have a look in his eye. That is very clearly a look of a look of a man who is being held up at gunpoint.
They lost that game.
Yeah.
Can you tell from the look in his eyes?
Well,
that's what we'll cut to if there's a horrific injury in the Toy Story.
It looks like fear. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, they won that game. I tricked you. That's a Marty Schottenheimer home playoff loss.
No.
Yeah.
He won that game.
Their eyes can be deceptive. Throw up Jameis Winston, please. Does that look like a dominant college quarterback?
That looks like someone unsuccessfully reading an eye chart with difficulty.
And how about the last one? Kyle Vanden Bosch.
Oh, what is that? What is that?
Terrifying is what that is.
That is the demon's eyes.
Dies.
Start fast with Fast Twitch, a game-changing energy drink from Gatorade. As an official partner of the NFL, Fast Twitch is formulated with 200 milligrams of caffeine to help fuel greatness on the field, in the gym, or wherever you need to get in the zone, like fantasy football drafts. It also has electrolytes, zero sugar, and comes in 6 delicious flavors ready to light up your taste buds. Find Fast Twitch in the energy drink aisle now.